Cold.
Cold.
Hold on. It's cold in Southern California too, Marty. Hold on. Hold on. What is it? Oh, see, 50 degrees today. Oh, it's 50 degrees, which is freezing for California. And it rained too. It's like something weird's going on. It's the end of the world out here.
We're uh we're pretty chilly down here in Florida as well. It's a cool 75 degrees.
Cool 75.
It's about
What do people say then? They say, well, it's humid down there, so summer it's too humid.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
exactly.
humid in the Northeast too, right? So like I don't know. I think weather is just not great everywhere except California, maybe. I lived in Minnesota for a while and I remember thinking like I don't understand why people live here 9 months out of the year. It's insane. Like what is the point?
That's real cold. That's like
That's
I walk
cold.
outside and the snot freezes in my nose cold.
Looks like we've got some more folks joining too. Guys that just joined, we're just kind of, you know, chatting around a little bit while we wait for folks to join. So feel free in the chat, throw in where you're calling in from, where you're viewing from. Those of you calling in from the States, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving last week. Came and went really quickly, but hopefully everybody got some good family time in and all of that. It's important to do that from time to time. I know we're all in the hustle bustle every day, so it's nice to. Well, I have a 1-year-old now, so we it used to be like, okay, let's chill out, but then it's just like it's almost like going from one job to the next. Sometimes Matt's got a. How old is your daughter?
I've got
Two,
a 1.5-year-old, so
1.5.
same boat.
Okay.
Like 4 days of no daycare. It's a fun job in and of itself.
Yeah, we always joke around internally here about, that we all love our kids and it's like the best thing ever. But then you have those moments where you're like, man, this is another full-time job that I go to after this one's done. But
Yeah, yeah.
looks like we got someone joining from India as well. Great. Thanks for jumping on. I have no idea what time it is out there. It's got to be like 2 in the morning, right? Or something like
Yeah. Yeah, we're up in the wee hours there.
that.
Yeah.
11:30 p.m. Okay, not
Okay.
terrible. And we've got another New York as well. So cool. We're well represented. And I know we've got some others on there. Feel free to chime in. And guys, keep the chat going. Did we go live, by the way, Matt? Yeah, we're live.
Yep,
Okay,
we're up on LinkedIn. I believe YouTube as well.
sweet. Okay. All right, I'm gonna jump over to those things and just kind of moderate, make sure that those are all good. If you want to just go ahead and I think we can go ahead and get started. We're a couple of minutes past the hour. Oh, another hello from Germany. Wow. So now we've got India, Germany,
Good.
uh, New York, Florida, California. We're all over. But okay, yeah, Matt, I'll throw it to you. Why don't you get us kicked off? I'm gonna go moderate YouTube and LinkedIn, make sure all that's running smoothly, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, we'll go ahead and kick it off. And in addition to where you guys are joining from, if you wouldn't mind, if there's any particular projects or aspects of IoT that you're most interested in talking about today, I think that, this presentation is a lot better when we are conversational. So keep the dialogue going, keep the chat active. There's also a Q&A section there. So with that, we'll get things rolling. So thank you everyone for taking the time to join. Quick introductions, probably a great place to start. So my name is Matthew Barry, business development manager here at myDevices. As mentioned, down here in sunny Orlando, Florida. Been with the company for at this point about a year and a half. And really my role on a day-to-day basis is to chat with folks like yourselves and try and understand the projects that you're working on and hopefully speak to how our technology can kind of streamline the process by which you're bringing IoT services to market. With us, we've also got Cameron Roxy. Cameron's our vice president of sales. And Cam, I'll let you give a quick intro.
Yeah, sure thing. So, hey guys, Cam here from myDevices. Some of you on the chat I recognize. I know we've spoken with before. By the way, there's another hi from Todd in Canada as well. So another country represented. But yeah, VP of sales for myDevices, been at the company for quite a while now as part of the founding group early on. Been a part of thousands and thousands of sensor deployments all over the world with some of the largest companies in the world and some smaller system integration companies that are doing some really big things with different sensors and services that we provide. So happy to answer any questions that anybody has and really looking forward to kind of showing you more of who we are, what we do, and hopefully partnering with you guys that are out there that are looking to get involved in IoT and ramp up your time to market significantly. Got another high from Belgium, so I've lost count now how many countries and time zones we're covering. But thank you guys so much for joining. So and we also, because it's the last month of the year and it is Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you want to call it, we're doing some specials for end of year. So where we're going to help kind of offset some of the upfront costs, potentially things like that to get started if you decide to start by end of year. So it's some cool stuff that we've never done before that we're offering as an incentive to end of year incentive, basically. So you will learn more about that. And there'll be a link at the end of this call to schedule time with Matt to dive into more details about how we can get started with that promotion. And but thank you guys again for joining. And Matt, I'll kick it back to you for the presentation.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Thanks, Cam. So I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen here. And as Cam alluded to, let's do kind of a high level introduction, myDevices, who we are, what we do, where we sit in the IoT space. We'll start at 5,000 feet. And if you guys, throw those questions in as we're rolling through here, that's fantastic. And then secondarily, we'll provide you information to set up kind of one-on-one time to discuss your projects in more detail. But to familiarize you guys with myDevices as a company, we've been in the commercial IoT space at this point for the better part of a decade. We're headquartered out of Southern California, out Cam's way, but employees across the US, like myself here in Florida, as mentioned, also completely global company. So we do have an office in Paris, France, folks, kind of scattered all through Europe. I think we have some folks in India as well. I know we had a couple of people on the call today from India. But, working with a really diverse portfolio of partners on our end, from, the 1 to 2 man startup organization up to, as Cam mentioned, some of the largest companies in the world. You see a few there: T-Mobile, Microsoft, Sodexo. Really, at the end of the day, our core goal is to provide complete end-to-end IoT solutions. I think what I find in a lot of the conversations I'm having on a day-to-day basis is that companies see value in IoT. They want to be able to provide it to their clients, but they get stuck in this R&D cycle where they're managing a lot of the fragmentation that exists in the space today, from hardware manufacturers to software developers, network connectivity folks. It kind of creates this quagmire where we're juggling different vendors, trying to piece everything together to stand up a workable solution. So what we've done at myDevices is aggregated a lot of those components together into a singular platform. So in essence, it allows you to leapfrog that R&D cycle and go to market with IoT solutions tomorrow. So to kind of highlight that end-to-endness of what we're offering, I think I'll break it down piece by piece here. So I'm going to flip over to our store page here. And for those of you who haven't had the chance to jump onto our website or store page, definitely hop on, check things out. So what you're looking at right now is our sensor catalog, which is the culmination of partnership with, at this point, about 350 sensor manufacturers offering about 1,100 devices as a service. And what makes us pretty unique in this space is that we actually warehouse and hold inventory of these sensors in California, which allows us to be a single point of hardware acquisition, meaning that you're not juggling multiple vendors, going to Dragino for temperature and humidity sensors, and then NetFox for window and door sensors. You can place a singular order with us, and then because we get hands-on all of these devices, we're able to manage both the pick, pack, ship on the logistics side of things, but also the pre-provisioning and pre-configuration of these devices, so that ultimately they're arriving to you plug and play ready then to speak back to our sensor application.
Yeah, I'm going to just cut you off just really quickly, Matt. Sorry to ruin your groove, but
good.
So actually go back to, if you don't mind, go back to that, the logistics slide, if you could. Because this is something that's really important, and as we go further and further into relationships and where we're really showcasing our value and where we see that we're different from the rest that's out there that's involved in IoT enablement. This is a big part of it. There's some 3PL services here, basically like ordering portals to get, order and quotes on different sensors, shipments, drop shipping directly to end user locations, custom kitting with inserts that go inside of the boxes so that there's an easy onboarding experience and all of that. Most of the businesses that we work with, particularly on the enterprise side, the fear of IoT comes from this place of, I don't want to be in the hardware business and I don't want to touch the hardware. Like, a lot of times we talk with our customers. A big thing is, who in your organization is going to put hands on hardware? Who's going to sit in a warehouse and key in LoRa app keys and API UIs? And who's going to manage RMAs and returns back with the hardware manufacturer when you've got issues? And who's going to support the hardware and do all of that? So we step in amongst all the things that we do. We step in and we take care of this really tough part. So a lot of the and the reason why I brought this up in this part is because, we're about to show our visualization platform, but that tends to be the first place where you can just very quickly see data. But usually there's APIs going out into other platforms and systems. So mix that with the logistics services. We're pick, pack, provision, shipping. We're managing RMAs, we're managing warranties, we're managing the provisioning and all of that. But then we're also a single API to get the data into your platform. So we really work on the back end to do the hands-on dirty work of getting the hardware out, but then also the data flow into your platform through a single API. So it's that kind of behind the scenes dirty work that really is preventing people from scaling and being successful and diving into IoT because they're not sure, how am I going to manage shipping hardware? How am I going to manage provisioning and configuring at scale? So we've got the processes and everything set up for it. So it's a big part of the service within our license that we offer is this sort of these 3PL services is really what they are. So yeah, sorry again to interrupt there, Matt, but yeah, we just wanted to make that comment.
No, that's all good. And I think gives a lot of context. So kind of then continuing on the path there, if we are going to dive into the visualization layer. So, I'll jump back into the actual platform itself so you guys can visualize, but as I mentioned, all these sensors are pre-provisioned and pre-configured then to allow for you to simply plug and play these devices. So it makes for a really simple implementation process. And let me juggle my screens here. And so it's as simple as, this is a singular pane of glass then, which we can mix and match any of the sensors that we offer. And when we're ready to deploy, it's as simple as adding a device. We're going to scan in a QR code or punch in a device ID, and then name the device, configure it. In just a matter of seconds, we're able to place that device out and start visualizing the data. And typically we are white labeling this front end of the application here. So your logo, colors, branding, your product to bring to market, we're kind of just behind the scenes standing it all up. And this is that powerful visualization layer, where we've got things like dashboards, and we take a pretty templatized approach. You can see we've got some dashboards built out for some commonly deployed use cases, things like energy metering or temperature monitoring or, predictive maintenance on heavy machinery. But we also have the ability to create custom dashboards. And that's pretty unique. We can pull sensor data from a particular sensor. We can combine different sensors. We can move these around, resize them, kind of create that more customized view. And ultimately, maybe it winds up looking something like a HVAC dashboard or whatever it may be. But we've also got the ability to then lock down those dashboards and then share a link, whether that's to folks outside the organization who want to ingest this data, or if it's for folks within the organization who perhaps don't need full platform access, but we want to just quickly share that information with them. But very robust in terms of the visualization we get in here. So in addition to those dashboards, we get things like alerting capabilities if we want to set thresholds on particular sensors, and then set different parameters there. We can add rules on top of them to say, hey, only alert me if we're outside these conditions we've set for a particular period of time or between particular hours. And we can then send text and or email alerts out to an unlimited list of recipients then with things like custom messaging or corrective actions. So, applying then some, productivity on top of just that visualization layer as well.
Yeah, so these are important parts, like the custom dashboards. What we found is that a lot of companies, you've got different people at the end user level. So if you imagine, like, you're the system integrator, you're the enterprise at a high level, and you're bringing this down to the actual end user who's going to ingest and utilize the sensor data. You've got different types of users. You've got people that want to see the HVAC dashboard because they just want a quick view of the HVACs that they're required to maintain, and they just want to see diagnostic info, temperature, airflow rates, and kind of granular info like that. Well, you've also got other people in the organization that might be more operational or more high level, and the dashboard that they want to see literally is just red, sorry, hopefully not that many reds, green, red, green. They just want to see good or bad, like that's it. And then if it's something's bad, then they can click on it and get a summary and then move on. So by being able to kind of create these different custom dashboards, you find something that works for everybody, and then you can templatize those dashboards and clone them across multiple deployments. But again, keep in mind too that a lot of times this in and of itself is great. It's a powerful tool, the dashboard and everything. But now when you combine that with our library of sensors that are plug and play with these dashboards, that's the magic, right? It's the ability to say, one vendor to order the sensor, and then when I get it, I scan it in, and now I've got all these features within the dashboard. Because as we said in the beginning of the presentation, the big problem is the fragmentation of the market. So outside of this environment, if you were to go you could get a gateway, you could get a sensor, and you can find a visualization platform that you can do dashboarding and whatever else maybe. Now, how do you make all of that stuff work together? How do you provision this sensor to work with this gateway, and then route the data, and then decode the data, and then get it to the platform, and then make the platform look the way you want? You have to host a LoRa server. There's just so much, or cellular, you have to activate SIM cards on the cellular network. So all of those things become siloed projects. Whereas this, when you mush them together, like we've done, it's plug and play. You get to the point of, okay, does this work or not immediately without having to do a bunch of R&D beforehand. So what you can do is, I've got a project, I think these sensors will work. I get them, I scan them in, I create the dashboards that show me the info that I need to show. And now I very quickly know, okay, is this going to work for my project or not? Or do I need to tweak things? And then if it does work, then we can scale. And then typically that next step is, getting into integrations and things like that, actually getting the data out into work ticketing systems, building management systems, ERP systems, or wherever building business intelligence, things like that need to go. There's a question in here from Marty, just really quickly, how long are warranties? So that since we provide 1-year warranties on all of our hardware, and that's another big thing too, right? On that 3PL or logistics side is, your warranties come from us. We give a blanket 1-year warranty on all of the hardware that we provide, and we do all the RMAs, and we'll deal with the back and forth with the actual manufacturer, and we'll send you the return labels and all of that. So you're not having to deal with any of that, but we provide 1-year warranties on all of our hardware.
Perfect.
Sorry, Matt, I interrupted you again. I'm totally ruining it.
No, that's fine. You're giving all the kind of additional details on top of the high level overview, which I think is important. And I think the last part that you had mentioned is, right now we've got all these sensors, 1,100 of them, and we're putting them into this single pane of glass and providing that visualization, which is great. But some of you might be sitting there thinking like, hey, we already have an application that we use for, generating tickets or building management system or any sort of upstack platform that you're using today. And it would be great, like you're talking about, how do we simplify this and cut down on the number of vendors? So, for half of our partners, this is their end product, right? They're providing easy to deploy, plug and play ready IoT sensors and that visualization layer. But our secondary set of partners are more so those system integrators who have those upstack platforms now, and they want to take all this data and then feed it to another platform, which we can pretty easily do utilizing those integrations capabilities. And we've got a number of different ways that we push and pull data, right? Whether it's via webhook, which I think is what we're most commonly seeing, but things like single click cloud to cloud integrations with AWS, Google, Azure, Power BI, if we're doing any sort of like advanced reporting on the data. So we make it really, really simple to then have a single point of integration one time with our application that then makes any of those work ticketing systems or, vertical specific platforms that you're using today reverse compatible with any of the 1,100 different sensors that we're offering.
Yeah, that's the big thing there. Is it almost always there's other platforms that it goes into, and we've got this robust set of APIs that allows you to do that. I think the most important thing, and I might be repeating myself, but is that it's a single point of acquisition for the hardware, single vendor to order any sensor from any manufacturer. It's also a single point of acquisition for the sensor data. Every single manufacturer out there has their own like mobile app or a lot of times you plug in a USB into the sensor into a computer, and you've got to download some software on a Windows PC, or you've got to use something like PuTTY to like serial into the device, right? So, but at some point there's some application that is used to talk to the sensor directly so that you can tell the thing where to send its data, what data packets to send, and all of that. And traditionally, the way we see system integrators doing this is exactly like that for every single sensor. What we've created here is now the ability to just go in and use our app as that single pane of glass that sits between the end user application and the sensor, so that all of the data routing, all of the data configuration, all of the data enhancement or enrichment is all happening through a central place. And probably the most important part is like, the different integration formats like webhooks or MQTT. Let's use a webhook, for example. If we're just sending a webhook packet out into some CMMS platform or work ticketing system or whatever it is, well, we're sending that data in a format that's consistent across 1,000 sensors. You don't have to normalize payloads on every single device or normalize data structure, because it's being done all through a universal API. So that's another big part. So not only, again, single point of acquisition, physical acquisition, buying the sensors, single point of acquisition of the data into that platform. And I'm trying to find, I was kind of scrolling through here quickly, hoping that I could find something of a comparison between, like, if you were to just buy a sensor out in the wild and it comes with this like user manual that's usually like 20 or 30 pages long that explains to you what you need to do to turn that sensor on and make it work. I mean, we're basically replacing that 20 to 30 page manual with scan this QR code and then put the URL of where you want that data to go for the sensor. And I'm obviously paraphrasing because there's some more power into it than that. But it really is kind of that bridge that we're building there. That's really critical. The other thing too there with that data is the ability to do things like equations and user input on the sensor data. The example I like to use is in tank level monitoring. What we find is you can get a tank level sensor and you can stick it at the top of a giant silo or tank, and it can tell you the fill level in general, right? That sensor is going to get the distance from the top of the sensor to the top of the liquid level or whatever it is. But there is some critical information there that in order to make that data useful, like if you just saw 3 meters, you'd be like, I don't know what that means. I don't know how to create a work order based on that. It's almost useless. But if you saw 73% full, that's valuable data, right? So how do you get from 3 meters? It's not even 3 meters. Usually it's like just some voltage value, right? So how do you get from that value to 73%? Well, there's some user input that's required. And we've got within our platform, you scan in a tank level sensor, it's going to ask you, is it a horizontal tank? Is it a vertical tank? Is it cylindrical? Is it a square? Right? All of those things. And when you put that user input in, then we know the equation to get from whatever that value is to 73%. And then when we integrate into the third-party system, we're not feeding out the raw data. We are in the metadata, but the data that's actually flowing through that's useful is going to be 73%, which is a valuable, enriched piece of data. So there's so much power in these integrations and when we say you can skip years of work to go to market, that's the type of stuff that we're talking about, that there's just so much heavy lift there. And sometimes when things are so simple, you don't even realize how much time you're removing or you're skipping over. But that's really what we've worked on over the course of the last 10 years or so, is just really consolidating that and just creating this very easy, user-friendly experience for our customers to go and deploy at scale. And it's been highly successful. We've got some of the largest enterprise companies in the world that are using our technology as their backbone for their deployments. So anyways, yeah, this is just such an important part, this integrations piece that really makes the difference. So I just wanted to spend a little more time on that.
Yeah, thanks, Cam. And you had alluded to like, hey, how do we apply user inputs and configure these devices to look exactly or provide the exact data that we're looking for? And a lot of that happens through the back-end console, things like device templates, where we can create those data sets that we want to include on the application, right? And that application is multi-tenant. So you can provide your customers their own instance of that front end for the visualization. So they're only viewing their sensors, their data. And then you as a partner of myDevices would have access to this back-end console, which is, like a high-level administrative tool, if you think of it that way, which allows you to do things like view your customers and drop in on their location, see which sensors they have deployed there, do bulk provisioning and deletion of sensors, as well as remote access their front end for things like troubleshooting. But is a really powerful tool on the technical side as well, where we do have those device templates, the codecs and API management as well. So we can seamlessly, integrate data outbound.
Yeah, I think there's two really important things in the backend console that I would bring up, or I think I've seen be used the most or have the most value to our customers, and that's the reports is one of them, the reporting capabilities, and then the bulk actions. So we always say it's deploying 1,000 sensors in one location. That's not so hard in reality. It sounds like a big deal, but it's actually not so hard because it's the logistics of it are simple. Like 1,000 sensors go to one place and then they get deployed, and then but it's one sensor at 1,000 locations is where things start to potentially break down. And so we've got these bulk provisioning tools which allow you to at the beginning, almost everybody's doing some kind of POC or small scale project in the beginning, and you might just scan in the sensors manually. You might use the bulk provisioning tool anyways, but when you get to the point where your customer is now like, hey, I've got 1,000 buildings and I need sensors, we want to do automation in each building, or 1,000 warehouses, that's where we've got the bulk ability to just go in and put in the location info, put in the alert thresholds, put in the route where the data needs to integrate to, all of these little minute specs into a CSV, or through REST API, just import them. But then, we're just uploading them, and then all of those accounts are built instantly. And now it's just a matter of taking the hardware to the site and turning it on, which, by the way, it's up and I think it's coming up. I'm like one step ahead of you this whole way, but installation services, that's another thing that we provide, right? It's the ability to actually go on site and help with the actual deployment assistance, whether remote or boots on the ground on site. So, which is the next step in the story. So we simplify that as well. The other part on the console is the reports, and maybe if there's time left over, I think we're coming up close anyways. We can screen share and show that, but this would be the next most important thing. The support services, training, professional services really rounds out the full offer. You get the software, the hardware, the logistics services, and then the actual human being support, boots on the ground support, training, and all that. So yeah, man, I'll let you run through this.
Yeah, exactly, Cam. As we are an IoT enablement company, right? So our business model is structured that we do not work directly with end users in most cases. So, for that reason, we can only be as successful as we enable our partners to be. So we're pretty hands-on with a lot of these services that Cam was mentioning, whether it's as simple as, device consultations, where it's like, hey, 1,100 different devices, which one's going to fit my project best? And, we've got a team of sensor experts that can make those recommendations. If it is managing things like API support for the integrations, that's great too. But also kind of the pro services, boots on the ground, as Cam was mentioning. So install support, whether it be remotely, we're utilizing our 1,900 contracted install techs throughout North America. And we've got international deployment teams as well that we're able to leverage. So really, outside of the tangible side of things, we're talking hardware, software, this support and services is a really key piece of what we offer.
Yeah, it's really what makes, I think, the difference for a lot of our deployments. And we have experience in a lot of different industries and different deployment styles and formats and different in different vertical solutions and all that. So yeah, this is where we help tremendously. And then we've also got subject matter experts that are third party that can come in to assess, HVAC questions or BACnet, Modbus, MBus, all those Industry 4.0 use cases, 420 milliamp, that sort of thing. And then even on the healthcare side with NIST certification or vaccine storage, so there's just all these different segments, and we've kind of just got different pro services that address each of those, so that you guys have everything that you need to be successful, regardless of what industries you're targeting or where you're using this technology.
Yeah. And guys, I see we're right up against it. So I want to do two things. I first want to pause for a second and open up the Q&A section. So if there's any questions about what we've covered today, or if you've got specific details, feel free to throw that in the chat now. We'll pause for a second. And while I wait for those to come in, again, we're talking about, pretty cool stuff here, from the hardware, the software, the integrations, the support side of things, everything that's included in this. It's all great to talk about, but I think the most exciting part for us is to hear more about what you guys are doing with this technology and bringing it to market. So for that reason, we set up a link here, mydevices.com/Matt, which you can schedule time with me one-on-one, and, would love to have a deeper conversation about some of the projects that you're working on, and, dive into any particular aspects of our platform that are of most interest to you.
Yeah, I would encourage you guys, if you have any kind of project going on, use this link, get on a call with us. Like I said before, we've got some promotions going on for end of year, so we can get you started as soon as possible with our services and kickstart, get you a head start for 2023 to put IoT into your portfolio. But yeah, any questions, please throw them into the chat. We're happy to answer them live, so we can get answers straight away if you'd like, or if there's any comments even or feedback. Like, you guys suck, or maybe you guys are great, I don't know, but throw that in the chat as well. I'm happy to address any type of comments that you guys have. And I know we're right up at time, so those of you that have to drop, feel free, and we'll wrap up here in just a second. But thank you guys so much for the time.
Yeah, thank you guys, appreciate it. And Cam, do you see on your side, it looks like we're clear on the Q&A? Yeah,
I've got it pulled up here. I don't see any open at this point, and nothing else in the chat. I've been responding to a couple comments in the chat, but otherwise,
must mean we were perfect in answering everybody's questions.
We batted 1,000 today.
Awesome, guys. Well, then we'll go ahead and wrap things up here. Thanks again. Again, if you do have questions, feel free to schedule time. We look forward to chatting a bit more, and enjoy the rest of your day, night, afternoon, morning, wherever you are in the world.
See you guys later. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys. Oh, did I see one more question come in here before I wrap it up? Jake, Jacobo, if you're still on, IoT in a Box is just the name for our white labeled platform. So if you want to hop on a quick call with me, then certainly able to dive deeper into it. But IoT in a Box is essentially the name of the myDevices platform. So thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. Talk